Hey guys, so I just wanted to quickly talk about here in a video, there is a new Dragon Ball game that was announced today. We'll go over the details in a second, but this was actually first sort of advertised or led into via the Dragon Ball Heroes Twitter account. They said on Goku Day there's going to be a big announcement, and then they teased what looks like a new arcade machine or an upgrade to the existing system for the Dragon Ball Heroes game, which, as you guys know, is an arcade card game in Japan only. We do have in the West, obviously, we have the Switch World Mission game that is the same thing. It's just not up to date with the current cards that exist. So they tweeted out these sort of teaser images of the new cabinet of the arcade game. So people were kind of speculating as to what this was going to be. Obviously, this is mostly a Japan only thing, so might not pertain to a lot of people watching this video, but so they made this announcement yesterday and they teased it, and the actual announcement was today on Goku Day 5-9 on May 9th. And then here's the video. So I have this video pulled up in a separate tab. We'll take a look at this in a second, but this is actually going to be a brand new game called Dragon Ball Super Divers is the name that they are going with for this new game. Look how many, it already has almost 5,000 likes here in just 2 hours. So there's a lot of eyes on this. A lot of that is not for the right reasons, I don't think, and I'll sort of talk about what that means. But there is an announcement for this game. There's not really much information given on this, but we'll watch the teaser trailer, and then we'll sort of get into my thoughts on it, as well as some of the other implications this has. This is one of those things. I'll talk about this in a second, but I just wanted to quickly go over to the official website. This is the official Dragon Ball Super Divers website. They also have their own Twitter or X account now as well. So this is going to be a brand new Dragon Ball game. As far as I know, as far as I'm aware, this is only going to be available in Japan, much like how Dragon Ball Heroes is only available in Japan. There's going to be an arcade exclusive game, so you can't get a mobile version. There's no console version, at least for now, that I'm aware of. Sounds like it's just going to be almost like a spiritual successor to the Heroes franchise. So let's just take a scroll through here. This is the official site. Again, this is a teaser movie, which we'll check out in a second. And then they do also have an interview with Victory Uchida, who is the producer of... sorry, not the producer, who's the editor of V-Jump. And then they have also the producer of Dragon Ball Super Divers, Akai-san, this guy. Who they sat down and talked about the game for about 8 minutes long. I'm not going to make you guys watch that. I actually have a translation that I did on my own account here that we'll go through, and that lists all the important information that they discuss throughout the video. So that's pretty much it. This is what the cabinet is going to look like. It's I would say this is definitely a newer style arcade cabinet in Japan. There's a lot of other games that are like this now. I believe there's a Pokemon game that is kind of like this. I don't know the name of it, but when I go to the arcade to do the Heroes, whenever a new set drops for Heroes, I would go to the arcade and do just a bunch of pulls to try and get the new cards. And the game next to the Heroes cabinet in the arcade that I go to is the Pokemon game. And the Pokemon cabinet looks very similar to this, where it has the 3 monitors here. So these the new screens. There's a touch panel on the bottom as well. But it actually looks pretty similar to the existing Heroes cabinet, but this one has much bigger screens, which we'll talk about as well. But this is what the game's going to look like. And then we do have just some coming soon stuff, because there is no official release date yet, but they did say that they are going to be releasing more information about the game, and I think it was Victory Jump Carnival or whatever it's called in July. So we're going to get more information about 2 months from now in July. So let's head over to the actual teaser trailer here. I'm going to make sure that the volume is not too loud. And again, there's nothing insane that is shown here. I'm going to make this full screen, and we'll just watch through this here. There's the cards. First look at the cards. This is the machine. New digital card game. Yeah, look how big those screens are. That's crazy. There's a better look at the cards as well. The actual graphics look a lot better than the normal Heroes graphics do as well. There's Frieza. I love how the first character they show is Frieza. That's how you know the game is going to be amazing. The first character they show is Frieza. And then here's Super Saiyan Goku on Namek, even though it's not the ripped Gi Goku. Okay, so we'll just quickly go through some of the shots here. And again, they don't really show or tell us much information about the game at all. But we can sort of decipher some things from the trailer. So this is, again, the cabinet is, look how big the screens are here. This is crazy. It's like, so again, they mention in the interview, which we'll get into, that the total size of all the screens, so because technically I think it's like 3 separate screens because they're kind of curved inward to give like a bigger feel of immersion. All 3 of them combined, I think in the interview, the producer said that this is actually going to be a 3 times bigger screen than the existing Dragon Ball Heroes cabinet has, so it's a lot bigger. And then again, let's just go through this a little bit. The guy sits down and he puts the cards here, so there's not really much we can decipher from just the cards by themselves. We have a Kid Trunks, we have a Piccolo, and then we have a Super Saiyan Goku here. It looks like some of these cards are going to retain, I guess, a few characteristics from the existing Heroes cards. Looks like there's Hero Energy here to do the super attack. There's a super attack name over here. It looks like there's some stats down here, which again is very, very similar. It's the same formula that the existing Heroes game uses. So I assume what they're going to do is they're going to borrow a lot of the systems from Heroes that worked well and build off of those. And they probably won't inherit a lot of the systems that they felt, created some kind of roadblock or had design limitations with them. So that's what I'm getting from this. Anything else we can look at here? Obviously, the graphics are way better than Dragon Ball Heroes graphics, which is what we should expect from this. I'm assuming that the screens are better quality screens too. So yeah, look at this this Frieza model looks so much better than the Heroes model. I mean, the Heroes, honestly, like recent Heroes models are not bad looking, but this is very clearly a step above what we have with the Heroes right now. So there we go, Dragon Ball Super Divers, and then they don't really give us much information besides that. So let's go ahead and jump into my post here, talking about the interview that was held between Victor Uchida and the producer for Super Divers. So Dragon Ball Heroes will reach its end of service with the release of Dragon Ball Super Divers. So this is the big thing that most people in the Japanese community are very, very up in arms about right now, and I completely understand the reasoning. They did announce, and that's what this is over here on the official Heroes account. This post is basically talking about that Heroes is going to end its service when Divers releases, which again, we don't know when that's going to happen, but I would assume it's going to be at some point this year, if not early next year. They didn't give us any release dates for Divers, but they said they're going to give us more information about this during the like Victory Carnival or whatever in July. So Dragon Ball Heroes will be ending, and then this new game will be launching, it seems, at the same time. So there's going to be some kind of transitional period going from Heroes to Super Divers. So it actually is a different game than Dragon Ball Heroes, but obviously it's trying to cater towards people who are fans of the Heroes series, the Heroes game. So let's continue. Since Dragon Ball Super Divers is a brand new game with new rules and new cards, Dragon Ball Heroes cards will not be usable. Yes, they did very clearly make this a point to talk about in the interview. You will not be able to use existing Dragon Ball Heroes cards in Dragon Ball Super Divers. However, there is a Dragon Ball Heroes mode planning to be implemented within Dragon Ball Super Divers where you will be able to use the existing Dragon Ball Heroes cards, including your avatar. So I'm assuming what's going to happen is there's going to be 2 distinct modes in Dragon Ball Super Divers. You're going to be able to choose the normal mode, which is going to be, I assume, what's going to be, become like the main game moving forward. And then there's also going to be a Dragon Ball Heroes mode, which is still going to be accessible in Dragon Ball Super Divers. So it's going to be basically, Heroes is going to be within this game, is basically what they're talking about, is what I'm understanding from what they're talking about. So for people who obviously still want to use their existing cards and they still want to use their avatars and they want to, this is a 13-year-old game we're talking. Dragon Ball Heroes is 13 years old. So people have been collecting the cards and they've been playing this game for 13 years. That's a long time. And obviously people have, certain attachments to their cards. They've used the same cards for over a decade now. They want to, continue to use their favorite cards and their favorite characters. So that's obviously what they were trying to get at with this. This is probably a very tough decision for them because there was no way this was going to go down easily. Like, they weren't just going to come out on Goku Day and say, we're coming out with this new card game. And by the way, this game that we've been developing and you know, managing for the past 13 years is going to be no longer accessible and playable. No matter what they did, that was going to be met with harsh scrutiny and huge pushback from the community, which is what I've been seeing. I've just been looking through social media and looking at the Japanese community's reaction to this announcement, and it is I've never seen this much pushback on anything from any Japanese community. Like, this is crazy. Like, the amount of people going like, oh my god, like, this is gonna, like, how could you abandon your fans and stuff like that, which I can understand why people feel like that. And I made a whole other post about this, which will probably, honestly, I'm probably just going to read that after this because I think it sums up my thoughts about this pretty well. But next, for those who play through the last mission of Dragon Ball Heroes, a special start dash bonus will be awarded to aid players in making the transition to Dragon Ball Super Divers more easy. Again, they're trying to sort of feed the players who are fans of Heroes into this new game because it's probably going to be geared towards those types of players, those types of people. The Dragon Ball Super Divers machine will have monitors around 3 times the size, this is what I mentioned earlier, of what currently exists for Heroes. Tons of graphical improvements have also been made to increase the immersion level, in addition to the panels being slightly angled to encapsulate the players. Yeah, it's like curved a little bit. So, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to pull up my other post here. By the way, the reason why I'm even talking about is because we're seeing posts like this where people are actually just like destroying their cards. And I've actually seen posts of people screenshotting like online like marketplaces where the value of cards have already decreased by like 50%, 60%, 70%. So people are already trying to just like dump their cards already. So I made this post here. I understand why a lot of people are frustrated. This is a 13-year-old game that many people have spent playing and collecting the cards for. To all of a sudden have it all come to an end is disappointing. I've been playing the game for around 9 years on and off, and it was an amazing experience. By the way, I've been playing this game for longer than Dokkan. For people who don't know, obviously I did not live in Japan for that entire time, so I wasn't playing the game consistently, but you know, I pretty much did everything there was to do in the game back when I first started, around 8 to 9 years ago. This was before the first anniversary for Dokkan. This is, again, a long time ago. And I love the game. Like, honestly, I think the concept of it being a card game that is also an arcade game that you can play with other people that you don't know, strangers coming up and like sitting on the other side and challenging you and stuff like that, I think it's awesome. And the game is obviously done very, very well. This is certainly not a financial decision, I don't think. Obviously, there's always some kind of financial angle to business decisions like this, but Heroes has always done exceptionally well financially. This is not like, oh, you know, we're seeing a huge downswing in revenue, it's time to think of a new strategy to undertake with these, you know, arcade card games. Like, that's not the reason why they're doing this. I am fairly certain the reason why they've decided to do this is because they've just met a lot of different limitations with the Heroes game. Whether it's due to the meta, again, this is a 13-year-old game that we have cards that are literally like Yu-Gi-Oh cards on steroids. Like, the amount of text on the back of these cards is insane. There's like 5 different effects. There are obviously very, very heavy graphical limitations on what they can do just based off of the engine of the game, which I think is probably a bigger thing as well. Like, you look at the Heroes graphics, and I would admit that Heroes certainly in the graphics department has been doing, you know, better recently, just because I think they've been putting more effort into the animations because, again, the game does very well financially, so they can afford to put those resources into the game development. But it comes to a point where the framework of the game is just too old to support a current generation of players who, you know, young people who see other games, they see how good they look, and then they look at Heroes and it's like, well, I like Dragon Ball, but the Heroes graphics are just very bad. And unfortunately, I'm not really somebody who thinks that way, but there are a lot of, you know, younger people who definitely would think that way. So that's probably a limitation they looked at to make this decision. And I think just doing a fresh start like this probably is a good idea for a game that is 13 years old. And then I said, but I view this as a new opportunity for them to expand on the genre. As good as Heroes was with how many evolutions it went through, there's only so much they could have done before running into certain limitations, which I just talked about. I'm excited for Divers, and I hope it does justice to the Heroes legacy. So that's pretty much everything that we have to talk about with regard to Dragon Ball Divers, or Dragon Ball Super, I was going to call it Divers, Dragon Ball Super Divers. There's not much information that they provided to us about the game so far, so I'm following the social media account. I am following the YouTube account. So we will see when they post some new updates or information regarding the game. Again, July is when we should expect to get new information about this, and we'll see what happens with the hero stuff. I think typically Japanese companies are pretty receptive to feedback, especially from, you know, when they get pushback as heavy as this. Like, we'll see what Bandai decides to do here, but it's a little bit strange to me that they would do this on Goku Day as well. I think, yeah, obviously people are excited for the new game. I'm excited for the new game. I think it's, you know, I'm viewing this more as a positive than a negative, even though I'm a huge fan of Heroes as a game. I understand that there are some limitations with the game at this point, it being as old as it is. I think, you know, looking forward to the new game is what we should try and do. But obviously I understand completely the people's grievances and disappointments with the fact that Heroes, which is a game that people have been playing for, again, 13 years, is now coming to an end. If they had done this without there being like, if they just announced that Heroes was ending, but there was no replacement to it, I would obviously feel a lot differently about this. But because we already know there's something that's been in development for quite a while now, and they are replacing it basically, again, it sounds like it's going to be almost the same day as Heroes is ending with something new and fresh. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with change. I'm okay with them providing us with you know, just basically an evolved version of Heroes, because I think that's going to be the next step. You can't just keep relying on the same game forever and ever and ever. At some point, things are going to have to change, and that doesn't just apply to Heroes. That applies to basically every game that exists ever. There's no game that's going to last forever. So after 13 years, looks like we are going to be wrapping up the Dragon Ball Heroes saga here and moving on to the Dragon Ball Super Divers saga. Definitely will be looking forward to making content on that game as well. Gonna have to figure out a somewhat efficient setup for recording at the arcade though. So we will see how that works out. Let me know down below what you guys think of this. I assume it's not going to be pertaining in terms of relevancy to a lot of you guys, because you guys aren't, well, most of you guys aren't living in Japan, but still interesting to discuss. I think, again, with how big Heroes is, like, even if you don't play Heroes as a game, it's still pretty influential to people who don't live in Japan. Like, there's the anime as well, there's the manga, and just like a lot of tie-ins with other games, like Dokkan has the Heroes collab. So we'll see what they do with that moving forward. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, bit of a different video, and I will see you all in the next one.